Alright, welcome to another web development crash course by Traversy Media. In this course, we're going to be looking at the Foundation Front-End Framework, also called ZERB Foundation. Now, keep in mind, this is a course for people just learning Foundation, so I'm going to keep it simple, and we're going to do things the easy way, not necessarily the best and most convenient way for advanced developers. So this tutorial will be very similar to my Bootstrap beginner crash course. The slides are going to be similar, and we'll be building a cheat sheet just like we did in that video. The goal is to get you familiar with the syntax of Foundation and to give you something that you can use as a reference for your future projects. Alright, so what exactly is Foundation, or ZERB Foundation? It's an advanced responsive front-end framework. So front-end meaning it works with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on the client side. Okay, it has nothing to do with the server part of a website or application. It's responsive and it can be used for all devices and screen sizes. It's used for building website front ends as well as user interfaces for web and mobile applications, so things like menus, buttons, lists, and so on. Foundation uses a mobile-first design, which means it was created with smaller screen sizes in mind first and then tweaked for larger screen sizes. And Twitter Bootstrap has the same design pattern. Alright, speaking of Bootstrap, Foundation is very similar. They essentially do the same thing in different ways, and Foundation is the second most popular front-end framework for websites and UIs. Alright, so let's take a look at why someone would want to use Foundation. And this is extremely similar to the list that we had in the Bootstrap video because they essentially have the same advantages. Alright, so it gives you faster user interface and user experience development. You don't need to create all of your HTML and CSS classes and styling from scratch. If you want a styled button, just pop in the class name. And obviously, you may want to customize it, but it gives you a really good starting point to work with. It gives you smarter and cleaner code, so the markup is very semantic, and it uses all the appropriate naming conventions and so forth. Things are laid out very nicely. So Foundation is mobile first and responsive, so you can use it for mobile websites as well as mobile applications, as well as desktop screens, laptops. It's optimized for all of these screen sizes. So consistency and convenience. Your code is consistent because it follows a set of semantic guidelines. It's obviously convenient for reasons I just went over. It's also a huge advantage for when you're working with multiple developers. If they know Foundation, they'll already understand your class names, etc. And if they don't, they can just refer to the documentation. Alright, it's also very customizable. You can overwrite any of the default styling. I think it was built to be a bit more customizable than Bootstrap was. So speaking of Bootstrap, let's take a look at some of the differences. Now, I'm not going to go into detail that many of you probably want me to on this. I'm thinking about making a video that will really compare the two, looking at the syntax side by side, but I'm not going to go deep into it now. Alright, so first thing I'm going to say is that, in my opinion, neither one is better. It's all about preference, and I know from my experience with my 2017 web development guide that many of you have very strong opinions and can take certain things to heart. Even with that said, I personally don't see one as better than the other overall. Maybe in certain areas, but not overall. Alright, so Bootstrap is definitely more popular, so naturally it has more support and reference available. More people know it, and you can get help a little easier. In my opinion, Bootstrap has an easier syntax in some areas, class names and so forth. Now that may be a good thing, but on the other hand, I think Foundation has more for advanced programmers. So the grid system is a little more in-depth and robust. It's a bit more modular. It's consistent with Sass, while Bootstrap focuses more on less, although that's not true with Bootstrap 4. For me personally, I think that Bootstrap is easier to work with and is fantastic to get something up and running really quickly. The reason I use it all the time in my videos is because we're focusing on a technology like Angular or React or PHP, and I don't want it to look horrible. So Bootstrap is great for doing that, setting up a UI really quickly. However, Foundation is more customizable if you want to focus on the design. It has a much flatter look by default, so the second someone sees it, they don't know it's a Foundation website, unlike with Bootstrap. Most designers and developers can spot a default Bootstrap style from a mile away. So that's my personal opinion on the two frameworks, and of course you feel free to disagree. So installing Foundation, there's a million ways to set it up, just like with Bootstrap. We're going to go with the simple method of downloading and including the CSS file. It's not the most advanced and efficient way of doing things, but again, this is a beginner course. You could also use a CDN or content delivery network, which is just pointing to a remote file. I'd only suggest this for prototyping and development and never in production. Foundation also has a cool little command line tool or command line interface called the Foundation CLI that you can use to set up a boilerplate and do other things. And you can install this with npm or gem. Let's see. Package managers, okay, of course you can use npm, Bower, which is a client-side package manager, Composer, NuGet or Nugget. I've actually never used that, but of course you can use those as well. So what we'll cover in this mini course, Foundation for sites. Okay, so they have Foundation for sites. They also have Foundation for apps, which focuses more on advanced stuff, more on the command line interface. So we're going to solely focus on the HTML and CSS syntax, so class names, etc. There's also Foundation for email, which focuses on HTML email templates, which is pretty cool. So installation and setup, we're going to get Foundation set up and installed, obviously, get set up to create our cheat sheet. So HTML, CSS components, we're going to look at things like typography, UI elements like buttons and alerts, helper classes, and so on. Alright, and also the grid system. We'll look at the classes that we need for our 12-column grid system, and we're going to create a Foundation cheat sheet that you can use as a reference for future projects. Alright, and really quickly guys, I do have a 10-project course by Eduonix on Foundation. If you like this technology, I would suggest it. We build things like a simple business website, photography site, project management UI, e-commerce theme, and more. So we do use Foundation 5, not 6, but 98% of the info is still relevant. Alright, so enough with these slides. Let's go ahead and jump into some code. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and get started on our Foundation cheat sheet. Now I have foundation.zurb.com open. That's the official site for Foundation. And if we go to docs and then sites docs, that's pretty much going to give us a rundown of all of the components, all of the styles and classes and everything that's available for Foundation for websites. Alright, this is a really good resource, just as Get Bootstrap is for Twitter Bootstrap. You can see we have resources for the grid, for forms, for the JavaScript widgets, everything. Alright, so we may reference this from time to time. Now what I have is I have a folder on my desktop called foundation_sandbox with an index.html file. So go ahead and create that, and all I have in it is this right now. Now I'm using Atom as my editor, and I'm using the live server. If you're using Atom, you can go to, let's see, Packages, Live Server. I can't remember if I think I did install this as a separate plugin, so you'll have to do that. And then I started it on port 4000. So if I go ahead and I edit this, and let's say world, and we'll save, and go over to the browser, you'll see that that automatically reloads. Alright. Now try and bear with my typing. I'm using a new keyboard. It's actually supposed to be a silent keyboard. Some of you guys complained about the keystrokes. So let me know if that's a positive change. I actually had a comment saying that they liked hearing the keystrokes. So let me know what you guys feel about that, if I should keep using this silent keyboard or not. Alright, so first thing we want to do is download Foundation. So I'm going to go back to the website here, and let's go to Getting Started, and let's let's see, actually they changed this around a little bit. I think we actually have to go to Sites Docs and then install Foundation for Sites. And this gives you all the different options. It shows you how to install the CLI tool if you want, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stick to the easy stuff, and we're going to go down to CSS download. Click that button, and then you have a few different options. You have the complete foundation, the essential. You can also customize. If we went to that, you could see we could pick and choose different classes and so on, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to do the download everything, and that'll give us a zip file. Okay, we'll go ahead and open that up, and you can see we have a CSS, a JS, and an index HTML file. Alright, so I'm going to bring all of that over. Alright, and I'm even going to overwrite the index HTML that I have. Alright, so now you'll see that that'll update to this. Now this is kind of a boilerplate that they give us. I want to start from scratch, so what I'm going to do is in that index HTML file, I'm going to get rid of everything that's in the body. Okay, everything that's in the body aside from those script tags at the bottom. So we'll delete all that and we'll start from here, and I'll go through this now. Alright, let's save that. Okay, so now we have an empty page. So we have our doc type, we have our HTML tag with the lang, the direction left to right, head, our meta tags, we have the character set, the HTTP equiv meta tag, the name, the viewport, which we're setting to the device width at an initial scale of 1.0. Alright, so just standard HTML head stuff. For the title here, let's go ahead and change that. We'll change it to Foundation Sandbox. You know what's weird about this keyboard is that all the keys are silent except for space and enter, which is kind of weird. This is the keys. This is space. It's weird. Okay, so anyway, you can see we're including CSS/foundation.css and app.css. Alright, now let's take a look in the CSS folder. So Foundation CSS is what we're including, so we don't actually need the minified version unless you want to change and use that, but I'm going to delete that. Alright, and then app CSS is just a blank CSS file for your custom styles. Alright, so that's what that is. Now in the JS folder, we have app.js, which is just basically a blank. It has this initializer, but this is basically your blank JS file. Alright, then we have our Foundation JS file, which is all the JavaScript stuff. That's being included right here. We also have the minified version, which we don't need, so I'm going to delete that. And jQuery. So jQuery is a dependency for Foundation JS, so it includes that as well. And then this what input here, this is for certain events, and we don't need this. We're not even going to really deal with JavaScript at all. This is purely HTML and CSS. Alright, so let's jump in and get started. I don't want this video to be too long. Alright, now I'm going to kind of follow the same guideline that I did with the Bootstrap video. We're going to start with typography, headings, paragraphs, very simple things. We'll move on to buttons and just certain CSS widgets, and then the top bar, which is kind of like the nav bar. So let's get started with typography. Actually, make this caps. So I'm going to kind of try to keep this clean and comment it out for you guys, because I want you guys to be able to use this as a reference for when you're building Foundation UIs and websites. So you can go back and look at it. All right, now with I'm going to do a lot of comparison with Bootstrap, because I'm sure a lot of you already know Bootstrap, and I think it'll make things easier. Now in Bootstrap we have a container class to push everything into the middle, set the margin to auto and so on. In Foundation we use the row class. Okay, there is no container class. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's just say test. Okay, we'll go over, and you can see that now that's pushed over. And let me just make this so that we can actually see it at the same time. I want to keep all the code in view. I guess that'll be good for now. Okay, so we have our row class. Now let's go ahead and put in a heading. Okay, so let's put an H1 and we'll save that, and it gives us a heading. Okay, it has some styling to it. We can put a small tag in here, and let's say this would be the secondary text. Okay, so looks like that. Now we can obviously do this for any size heading. If we put an H2, we'll see what those look like. Okay, we're not putting any special classes in here. This is just how it looks naturally without any extra classes. We can also use a subheader class. So for this H2, let's give it a class of subheader. And you can see it just kind of makes it a little lighter. Alright, so paragraphs. So let's throw in a paragraph here. And let's see, I'm just going to put some sample text in here. Just some lorem ipsum. Whoops. It's kind of a lot. I don't want that much text. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Alright, so I just want to make sure everything's in view for you guys. So let's save that. Okay, so that's what a paragraph looks like naturally. If we put some strong tags in here, okay, you can see it just makes it bold. No big surprise there. What else? We could put M tags. Okay, so you can see that makes that italic there. Now, for links, let's go ahead and put a link in. So we'll wrap this, save that, and you can see there's the link. It gives it a kind of a light blue color, matches the rest of the theme, the default theme. Alright, now there's not as many options with paragraph styling as there is with Bootstrap. There is a lead class we can use, so we copy this paragraph. And let's go ahead and give this a class of lead. Okay, now you can see that is bigger. Okay, it kind of just emphasizes it, makes it bigger. There's also a stat class. So if we go down here and put in a paragraph, and let's say server uptime, so this would be for like a hosting company, and we could put in a div with a class of stat, and we'll say 230. Save that, and you can see that makes that really big. Alright, so I know this stuff is kind of boring, but yeah, I do want to get it in here. So I'm going to put in just a horizontal rule just to kind of separate this, and we're going to take a look at alignment. Okay, so sorry about that. So let's say comment alignment classes. Okay, now for this, I'm actually going to just paste this in. I'm going to do some copying and pasting throughout this video just to save some time. Oh, put that below the comment. Alright, so we have a couple paragraphs here. This one has a class of text left, which is going to align to the left, text center, text right, and text justify. And these are actually the same classes as that Bootstrap uses. So you can see here, you can see the aligned text. Alright, so really simple. We also have some float classes. Alright, so this, I'm actually going to put this in a callout, and I'll go over callouts in a little bit. Let's see, we'll say callout clear fix. And I'm just going to put in 2 buttons or links formatted as buttons, and I'll get to this, don't worry about that. And we're going to put in the class float left for this one. Alright, and then let's copy that. Oops, I keep pressing the wrong key here. I'm not used to this keyboard. And this will be float right. Okay, I'll save that. Whoops, that didn't work because I didn't spell it right. Okay, so you can see that we can now just put in float left and float right, and that will float whatever element. Doesn't have to be a link or button, it can be anything. Alright, so now let's move on to code. Okay, so if we want to put in, for instance, we want to display some HTML on the page, we can do that. So I'm going to just paste this part in here. Alright, so we have our code tags, and then we need to use for our angle brackets this ampersand LT for the left side, and then GT for the right side. So we have a div with a class of my class, inside the div hello world, and then we have our closing div. And then down here we have our keyboard commands here. So we're saying press command plus R or control plus R on Windows. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so you can see here it's basically has a background of gray, gives it some padding, looks pretty nice and very readable. Alright, so for block quotes, let's see, so we'll put in a block quote, and let's say this is a block quote from Foundation, and then we want to put in our site. Okay, put a name in here and let's save that, and that's what a block quote looks like in Foundation. Alright, so really simple stuff. Let's move on to lists. Alright, so let's see. Let's put a comment in here. We'll say lists. And let me just comment this stuff too. I know it takes a little extra time, but I want you guys to be able to understand what's going on. Okay, so for a list, I'm going to just paste this in. So basically we have an unordered list here with a couple list items, and then we have another unordered list. So this is a nested list. And down here we have the same thing, we're just using OL, which is ordered list, which will give it the number. Alright, so let's save that. And that's what it looks like. Okay, just a standard list. Now if we want to remove the bullets, we can use the no bullet class. So let's say class no dash bullet. Okay, now you can see it removes that. If you want to do the nested list, you'll have to add that as well. Okay, that removes that. It also removes the padding. This is equivalent to list unstyled in Bootstrap. So next thing, let's take a look at visibility classes. Okay, I actually want to stay within the row. Alright, so let's put some paragraphs in here. Okay, and notice they have text inside of them, and I'm going to add classes to make these true. Okay, so we'll save it. Now right here we're going to add a class to hide this, whatever is in this element. So it has a class of hide. Alright, so if we save that, it basically just completely removes it from the page. Okay, there's no space where it used to be. It's just completely removed. So that's what hide does. And then we also have class invisible, So if we will go ahead and save that, you'll see that the text is gone, but the space where it was contained is still there. All right, so that's the difference between hide and invisible. Now, another cool thing we can do is we can actually add classes to either hide or display the content depending on what size the screen is. This paragraph here, I'm going to leave just regular paragraph. It says you are on a small screen or larger. So that's pretty much anything. With this one here, it says you are on a medium screen or larger. So what we can do is we can add a class of show for medium. Okay, if we save that, remember it says you are on a medium screen or larger, so it's showing right here. Now, if I go larger, you'll see it's still there. If I go down to small, it's gone. Okay, there's no more you are on a medium screen or larger. So it'll show based on if it's a large or medium screen or larger. Now this one here, you're on a large screen or larger. So this would be a class of show for large. Okay, this one you are not on a small screen. This would be actually, yeah, let's do this. So this would be hide for small only, which is kind of long, but it makes sense. Okay, this one here says you are not on a medium screen, so this would be hide for medium only. Okay, this one is you are not on a large screen, so this would have the class of hide for large only. And we can also go by if it's a landscape or a portrait. So this would be show for landscape, and this would obviously be show for portrait. Okay, so let's save that, and now you'll see as I make this bigger and smaller, different things show. Okay, if you look at the bottom, you're in a landscape. If we get to portrait, you are portrait. Alright, so it's kind of just changing as we move along. So I think that's pretty cool that they give us those classes. Alright, so now let's get out of the helper classes and typography, and let's move on to elements. Okay, so let's do buttons. Okay, so I'm going to just put an HR here, and then we're going to open up a new row or a new container. Okay, let's say buttons. Alright, so as with Bootstrap, we can format links, buttons, and inputs. So let's say button, and it has a class of button. Okay, not btn, button. So let's see what that looks like. So that's a standard button, has that blue color. Alright, we can also do a link, so we'll say href, give it a class of button, and let's say link. Okay, we can also do inputs with the type of button or submit, give it a value, and give it a class. Alright, so if we save that, you see that they're all formatted the same way. Alright, so those are buttons. Let's look at contextual buttons or colored buttons. So let's see, we'll just grab this. Alright, so this first one here, let's just add a class of success. Okay, same as Bootstrap. That'll give us a green button. Now, instead of danger, we have alert, which will give us the red button. Warning will be yellow. And then we also have secondary, which will make it gray, which is similar to default in Bootstrap. So let's save that. and now you can see we have different colored buttons. So I'm just going to put a line break right here. Okay, now we can also have a disabled button. By adding the class disabled, and you'll see when I hover over it, it turns into that crossed out circle thing. Alright, now as far as sizes, we can change those as well. Okay, so let's say we want a really small button. We can use tiny. Let's check that out. Look how small that is. I'm going to put a line break here as well. Alright, so we have tiny, we have small, which is a little bigger. We have default, which is we'll just leave with just button. We have large. Let's take a look at those. Okay, so tiny, small, default, large. We can also have expanded. Okay, now expanded is like button block in Bootstrap. It just basically goes across the whole element. And we can also have expanded but also add large or small and so on. Alright, so you'll see that's an expanded large button. So quite a few choices as far as sizes and colors. Now what else is pretty cool is they have these hollow buttons, so kind of reverse. Now I'm just going to copy these. And I'll just put a comment here. And then I'm just going to add the class hollow to these. Okay, let's check that out. And you can see that it gives us these white buttons with a border and changes the color of the text. So kind of reverses this version, which is pretty cool. Alright, so I want to keep moving along. That's it for buttons. Now we're going to take a look at forms. So I'm going to open up a new row. Alright, now with forms, we actually don't have to add many classes at all to make our forms look good. With Bootstrap, we have to add form group, we have to add form control for our inputs, or it looks like crap. With Foundation, we can just kind of build a form. Okay, so let's just put a div. Alright, and let's do label. We'll say name. And let's just do input type equals text. And let's give it a placeholder. Okay, and if we take a look at that, you can see down here it looks pretty good. Alright, I don't want you guys to have to keep looking at the bottom of the screen, so what I'm going to do is just stick a div down here. Give it a class of spacer. And then I'm just going to go up in the head area. Put a style tag. And let's say spacer height 500 pixels. Okay, that way you guys don't have to just look way down at the bottom of the screen. Alright, so back to where we were. Let's add another field here. So I'm going to copy this div. And this will be the email. You can change the type to email. We're using HTML5. Okay, then we have another text input. We also have number inputs, which is part of HTML5. So let's say number. Get rid of the placeholder. Okay, if we look at that, you'll see that It's formatted just like the text, and we have this little arrow here, and we can change the number. So what else? Text areas. Let's say message. Okay, we'll change this to text area, which needs a closing tag as well. Okay, so that's what a text area looks like. We should probably take that email out, change it to message. All right, now select. Let's do a select list. Paste that in, and let's say gender. Again, we don't need any class to make this look good. I'll say option. Okay, and to be politically correct for you liberals out there, let's say other. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Save it, and there we go. We have a select list. Now if we want to make this multiple, let's copy that div, and we'll say select, and then we'll add in multiple, which maybe if you're an alien or something, you can choose more than one. Alright, so next thing we'll look at is check field sets and checkboxes. I'm going to put a set of checkboxes in a field set. Alright, so let's say field set. I very rarely use field sets actually, and that's going to have a legend. So we'll say a field set. Whoops, don't want that. And let's put some checkboxes. We'll say input type checkbox. Actually, let's put that in a label. Alright, so if we look at that, you'll see that's what it looks like naturally, but we can add a class of field set, save it, and then it looks like that, okay, which looks much nicer. So we can also do upload buttons. Now it's usually very hard to style an upload button. It doesn't work in most browsers, but what we can do is, let's say label, and we're going to give it a for attribute of example, say example upload, or let's say file upload. Okay, and we're also going to give it a class of button, and let's say upload file, and then we'll put in our input, and let's give it a type of file, give it an ID, file upload. We're also going to give it this class of show for SR. Okay, and that's the same code that's in the documentation. So now you can see we have a styled upload file, and if I click it, it goes ahead and opens this window to upload a file, but obviously we don't have any back-end programming, so it's not going to actually do anything. Alright, but this is for the UI. So next I want to look at help text for an input field. So let's go under here. Let me just separate these inputs. Okay, so let's say we have a password field. So we'll put a label. And let's say input type password. And we want some help text, so we're going to put a paragraph, and let's say your password must be 8 characters or more. Okay, so if we save that, okay, so that's just standard. That's what it looks like without any special class. But with this paragraph, if we put the class of help text, you can see that it gets smaller, it's italic, and it loses the padding, so that looks much better. Okay. And it also gives us this little icon here. I think, did that class do that? Yeah, oh no, it didn't. Oh, that's for my stupid LastPass thing. Never mind. You guys won't have that. All right, so let's move on. Let's see. We have a couple more things I want to do with inputs. So let's take a look at input groups. Now, this is used for if you want an inline button, so a search form, something like that, where you want the button and the input to be inlined. So what we'll do is say div class input group. All right, and then inside here we're going to have a span, and let's give it a class. Actually, we'll do that after. That's just to add a special symbol. But let's put an input with the class of input group field. Okay, and we can give it a type. Let's say email. Now we want the button to be in line with it, so we're going to actually put this in a div, and we're going to give this a class of input group button. Okay, and then in here we'll put, let's say input, we'll give it a type of submit, and give it a class of button, and then a value of say search. Well, not search because it's an email. We'll say submit. Alright, so now you can see that we have the input and then the button is right next to it and in line with it. Now if we want to put a little symbol over here, we can do that as well as part of the input group. So we'll say span class input group label. And let's just put a little @ symbol. Actually, why is that on that side? Oh, I put the span below the input. It should actually go above it. Alright, so now it's on this side over here. So you can do that. So that's an input group. Now there's two more things that I want to show you as far as inputs, and that's a switch and a slider. Alright, and these are actually, they look really good on mobile devices. So let's do a switch. So we'll say div class switch. Okay, we're going to put an input with the type of switch input. We'll give it an ID of my switch, and it's actually going to have a type of checkbox. Okay, and then we'll give it a name of example switch. Okay, I think all these attributes are needed. So then what we're going to do is have a label, and inside actually the label we're going to give it a class of switch paddle. Okay, switch paddle, and we're going to say for my switch. Okay, and we're using my switch because that's what we gave the ID up here. Alright, and then in that label we're going to have a span, and that's going to have a class of show for SR. Alright, and this is in here, I'm just going to say enabled. Okay, let's save that. And whoop, what is that input? Alright, so I think I did something wrong here. Oh, I put type switch input. That should be class. There we go. So now if I click that, you'll see it has a nice little slide animation. Alright, I think that looks pretty cool. So next we have a slider. Now this, I want to save some time, so I'm going to actually paste this in. I don't like copying and pasting, but I want to save some time here. Alright, so we have a div with the class of slider. We have data slider as an attribute, data initial start. Now this is where we want the slider to start. I put 0, and then it's going to end at 20. Alright, so as you slide, it's going to go 0 through 20. We have a span with the class of slider handle, data slider handle. We have a role attribute of slider. Tab index 1, we want it to go to change 1 each tick, basically. And we have a span with the class of slider fill, data slider fill, and then we have an input, a hidden input. So let's save that, and there we go. So each tick here is going to be 1, and it goes 0 through 20. Alright, so that's a slider. And they remind me of mobile app UI components, iOS or Android. Okay, so that's going to do it for forms. I'm going to open up another row here, and we're going to look at tables. Okay, so I'm going to paste in a table. Okay, so we just have a simple table of users. Let's go ahead and save that. And notice that right away it looks good. We have no classes. We didn't have to add striped. In fact, there is a striped class, but it's there by default. If we don't want it striped, we could say class unstriped, and now it removes it. Okay, but I'm going to keep striped on. Okay, now if we want to hover over these and have an effect, we can add the class of hover. Okay, so now you'll see that we get that lights up when we hover over. We can also put in the class of stack, which I'm not exactly sure. Oh, there we go. That's what it does. So when it's a big screen, it looks normal, but when you get to a smaller screen, it looks like that, which is really cool, actually, because it's really hard to get responsive tables. So I like that. All right, let's see. Why is it doing that? We can also put in a table scroll class, and I believe that if you have enough fields, you'll be able to scroll horizontally. All right, but I'm not going to change that up. Just know that that's a thing. All right, so let's move on from tables. There's actually not that much we can do. As far as I know, we can't use contextual classes here. So for instance, we can't say class success like we could in Bootstrap, and that would make that particular row green. I don't see that happening. All right, and I didn't see that in the documentation either. So that's tables. Let's create a new row. And we're going to look at menus. And I'll get to the top bar in a minute, but let's just do some simple stuff. So if we have a UL, and inside here, let's put a link, and we'll say link 1. Copy that. Okay, so let's take a look at that. It's just a standard list. Now if we go and we add class equals menu, you'll see that it changes. It goes inline, goes horizontal, it gives us some padding, and it looks pretty nice. If we want an active link, then we want to put on the li class active, and you'll see that gives it a background, padding, and all that. We can also add some text that's not a link. So you may want to have, for instance, a title. So right here we could say site title, and then give this a class of menu text. Okay, and that gives us a little site title. Well, let's see what else. I think that's it. So if we want to make this vertical, we could do that. Let's copy it. And we could just add menu and then vertical. And let's see, that gives us a vertical menu. Okay, I'm going to take that site title out though, although you can do that. Alright, now we also have simple, class simple we can put with it. Let's see what that does. I'm not even sure. Oh, so it just kind of removes all the padding and all that, I guess. Alright, now we can also use icons. Now, if you want to use icons, you actually have to include a separate file, separate CSS file, and some other files. Let's say foundation icons. Alright, so this link here, you'll have to download the font. So it's a zip file of foundation icons. Let's open that up. What the hell is it? Alright, so in here we have a bunch of stuff. We have the foundation icons.css file, and then the icons, the fonts themselves. We have an SVGs folder. What I'm going to do is, let's open up our project folder, and inside CSS I'm going to create a folder called icons, and we're going to bring over, I'm just going to bring over everything except that HTML file. Okay, and then we'll go to our file here, and we need to include that up here. So we're going to say include css/icons/foundation-icons.css. And now we should be able to use icon classes. So let's go back down here. And I'm actually going to just paste this in. Okay, so we have the class of menu. Icon top is optional. By default, they're on the left, but we can move them to the top. And then we're just using I tags with the class of fi dash and then whatever that icon. And you can see a full list here. Alright, so these are all the icons that you can use. I prefer Font Awesome, but if you don't want to include that extra library, you can use this. So let's go ahead and check that out. And you can see it gives us the little icons on top. Alright, if we remove that icon top class, puts them on the side. Alright, so that's menu and icon. Now let's take a look at the top bar, the nav bar, and we're going to put that up at the top. So let's go up here. Oh, we've done a lot. Okay, and we're going to go right under the body tag, and let's say top bar. And I hate to do the copy and pasting, but we are kind of running out of time here. So let's take a look. We have a div with the class of Topbar, and then we have Topbar left and Topbar right. Okay, just like in Bootstrap, we have navbar left and right. So on this, in the left, we have a UL. I gave it the class of drop-down menu because it does have a drop-down. And then we have data drop-down menu we got to throw in there. Then we have a simple site title. Again, we're using menu text for our class. And then we have this li, which is a link, and then we have the ul, which is the drop down for it. Alright, so that's how we do drop downs in Foundation. And then on this side, I put a form. We have a ul with the class of menu, and then in this li, I put search input, a text input, and then a button. So let's see what that looks like. If we save that, alright, and you'll see we have our drop down here and our search form over here. Okay, so pretty simple. I think it's easier than the Bootstrap nav bar. Alright, so let's move on to some of the other UI components that are available. So we're going to go back down to the bottom. And I know I probably missed some comments and stuff. I'll probably shape this up a little bit before I give it to you guys to download. Let's see. Oh, did I not end that? Oh, this should actually be inside the div here. Alright, so let's create a new row. Okay, now what I want to look at now is callouts. And these are similar to alerts in Bootstrap. So we have a div, the class of callout. And let's see, let's just put a paragraph. We'll say this is an example of a callout. And let's take a look at that. Okay, so there's a callout. Let me just put an HR here. That's a standard callout. Now we can also add our contextual classes to these. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, so this one here, let's do secondary. Let's do success, warning, and alert. Okay, and you can see we have all different colors here that we can use. So you'd use this for an error, this for a success message, and so on. Okay, next thing I want to look at is progress bars. Put an HR here. Okay, so we'll say div class. Let's say success. We'll make it green, and progress. And we're going to give it a role attribute of progress bar. Okay, and here we'll say div class, and this is going to be progress meter. And then what we do is give it a style and give it a width. So we'll say width 25%. Okay, and then inside here we'll put a paragraph, and this is going to have a class. This is optional text. It's going to have a class of progress meter text. Alright, and we'll just say 25%. Let's take a look at that, and we have a progress bar. So we can also use contextual classes here. So change that to alert, and we'll say alert's getting to 98%. The whole facility is going to blow up. For this one, we'll say warning, and we'll say 75%. Okay, take a look at that, and there we go. Alright, I'm really getting pressed for time here. Let's add some labels. Actually, what I'm going to do is put an HR, and I'm going to paste this in. Okay, so our labels, we have spans here with the class of label, and we can add our contextual classes here as well. Okay, so those are what the labels look like. We also have badges. So let's put an HR. Okay, paste these in. Again, just spans with the class of badge, and we can also add these classes to that as well. Okay, so that's what the badges look like. So we also have breadcrumbs, which actually look really nice. So let's see, we'll put a comment here. And what we need to do is we'll use a nav tag here. Let's give it a role of navigation. Oops, didn't want to do that. Or that. Alright, so in here we're going to do a UL, and we're going to give it a class of breadcrumbs. Okay, and then we'll put an li. Let's make this a link. Okay, so we'll say home. And let's do another link. We'll say posts. And then the current one won't be a link. So we'll just say my post. Let's take a look at that. And there's what a breadcrumb looks like. So I think that looks pretty nice. We can also do disabled links. So let's see, or disabled text. Just give it a class of disabled. Maybe it's a member page or something. Oh, we gotta put some text in here. Okay, so that's what it looks like. All right, next thing we're gonna look at is pagination. So let's go like that. Okay, so for pagination, we're going to add a UL, give it a class of pagination, and let's also give it a role of navigation. Okay, and let's see, we'll put an li here. And let's give this a class of current. And we'll say 1. Alright, and then if we're on the current page, then we probably want the previous link to be disabled. So let's say link class or li class disabled. We'll say previous. Okay, then we'll put our second link. So this one actually won't have a class. Let's say 2. And then we'll paste in a couple more. 3, 4. And let's put our next. So li. So this will be next. And let's take a look at that. Alright, so there's our pagination. Now if you want to have an ellipses, I think that's how it's pronounced, we can do that as well if you want to kind of skip pages. So we'll say li class ellipses. That's it, ellipses. And let's just copy a couple of these, and we'll say 13 and 14. So let's look at that. All right, so it gives us a little ellipses, and then these would probably be the end pages, so they know exactly how many pages there are. Now, obviously, there's no functionality to this. This is just the UI, but it looks pretty nice. All right, so now what I want to look at is probably the most important part of any front-end framework, and that's the grid system. All right, so we're going to open up a new row. Say grid. Okay, so let's start out with just actually each grid is going to have its own row, so I'm going to put the comment here. So let's say we just want a main column and a sidebar. So we'll say div class. Okay, now all columns will have the class of columns. All right, and then we're going to say large 8. Now in Bootstrap it would be call LG 8. Okay, so same thing. All right, and in here let's put an H3. We'll say main column, and then I'll just put a paragraph with some sample text. And I did that by typing in lorem tab. Alright, someone actually just showed me how to do that. I didn't even know you could do that. Actually, a couple videos ago, they left it in a comment. Alright, so that gives us an 8-column div. Now, it's a 12-column layout, just like Twitter Bootstrap. So the next one we want to do is a 4. So we'll say div class columns large 4. Okay, we'll put in H3, we'll say sidebar, and let's just copy some of this. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Okay, so we have our main column and our sidebar. The padding's taken care of for us. So that's it. That's how you can create a grid. Now, you have large, medium, and small. So let's say that naturally when this is small, they're going to stack. Okay, the floats disappear, and that's probably what you want. But if you actually did want it to still float here, we could put in small 8 and small 4. Save it, and now you'll see that they float. Alright, you can also do it for medium. So let's say medium, say we want it to be 6 and 6 for medium. Alright, so now if we're at medium, you'll see now there's 6-column divs. When we get to large, it goes back to 8, 4. Okay. So let's say we want 4 3-column divs. Go ahead and paste this in. So we have a row with div class columns large 3 and medium 3, and we just have 4 of these. Save that, and now we have 4 3-column divs. Alright, and if we even wanted to do 12 1-columns, we could do that as well. So let's paste that in. So we have 12 large 1, medium 1. Okay, so there we go. Now, if we want to offset, let's say we want to have a 12-column, but we want the content to start in the middle here, then we could do that. Okay, so we'll say div class columns, let's see, we'll say columns large 12. Okay, let's grab this. Okay, so that gives us a 12-column, and that's normal. Now let's say we want this to start over here. Then what we could do is we could say large offset 6. We want to offset it by 6. And now you can see it starts over here at 6. Okay, so that's how we can do offsets. Alright guys, so we have reached the end of this crash course, and we have quite a bit here that you can use as a reference. Now, I didn't touch on everything Foundation offers, especially when it comes to JavaScript widgets and so on. So if you go to the site docs, a couple things that you may want to check out is, let's see, cards. So if we look at containers, we have cards, which is basically a header, an image, and a body. And you can see it gives us the code here. Actually, you know what? I could take an extra 5 minutes and add this stuff. So let's create another row here, and the file that I have for you guys to download will probably be, I'll fix it up a little bit. Let's paste that in. It's a card. Okay, we'll save that, and let's grab that image link. Okay, let's check that out. Alright, so there we go. There's a card. So that looks pretty nice. You probably have like 3 or 4 of these in a row. That would look cool. Let's see what else we have. We have media objects, which are really nice, kind of like blog posts. Let's see, let's grab this. So this would be a media object. Paste that in. Take a look, and oh, let's grab that image link. Okay, so that's a media object. So we also have, let's see, I didn't plan for this. Accordions. Yep, accordions, which are basically JavaScript widgets. So if we grab this here, paste that in. Okay, now this, let's see what this looks like. Okay, so it gives us one accordion. Let's add another list item here. We'll copy this one. We'll add two more. And there we go. So now we have a cool little accordion widget. And let's see, they all start open though. I don't like that. So let's remove is active from the second two. And then only the first one should be open. Yep. Okay, and then let's finally, I just want to throw in tabs as well. Let's see, tabs. So tabs is this thing here. It has two parts. One's going to be the UL, which is the actual tab links. Okay, so that's the first part. And let's grab this. This is the content. Okay, so you just want to make sure that, let's see, so these have to match. href panel 1 is going to match ID panel 1. Panel 2 is going to match panel 2. Alright, let's take a look at that, and now we have tabs. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and stop here. So it's a nice little reference. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't like it, and I will see you next time.